You know what? I'm going to leave this part in. I love the fact that we would cut into Elise's drinking time. That's why I love you so much. And
I'm just keeping it real.
It's perfect that the Puck the Huskies podcast is brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated by two diehard Husky fans, Manny and Roger. They've been pouring the best local beer for the past 23 years. Makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie's Alpha IPA, and a host of your other favorite brews. Tap room open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. You can visit them at georgetownbeer.com. Joining us every week, Jordan Reffett, former defensive lineman for your Huskies 2004 to 2007, and Elise Woodward, star basketball player and sideline reporter extraordinaire for your University of Washington. That was a good hand in the cookie jar shot, I thought.
Yeah,
pretty good.
It was. Yeah. No. Snap it home.
That's right. That's right.
All right, let's just get opening comments. Elise, I'll start with you. How was the game? And just you've had a few days to kind of think it over and how it went. And what do you think of the debut of Jedd Fisch?
I mean, I think that it went as well as you could hope. I thought there was a lot of really good things that we saw that I think only confirm, which is what we all thought, that Jonah Coleman is a beast and he's really good, especially when it's live because you can't tackle him. 10 missed tackles against Jonah Coleman, which was fantastic. I think their wide receiving core looked good. I was kind of surprised Jeremiah Hunter didn't get more action, but I think that there was obviously a lot of targets to Josh Jackson, who was 2 yards short of 100 yards. So he was good. Denzel Boston was good. I thought Will Rogers looked better and better as the game went along. So there was a lot of stuff. And I thought the offensive line did a pretty good job. I think for Husky fans, it's weird when somebody gets sacked. The last 2 years, it's like Michael Penix has just stand back there and been clean. And so it's weird when you see a guy get sacked a couple times. But that side of the ball, I think, was really good. I think the defensive line is still – you would have liked to see them be more stout, and that might be where they're, going to have their most issues. They've got to be able to be strong in there and stop the run, especially in the Big Ten. But overall, 35-3 and the things we saw, I think that's a great first impression for a lot of Husky fans.
Jordan, what about you? Your impressions that what you saw, you had a video that you posted right after the game and discussing it. Those opinions, attitudes changed after a few days?
No, I think the big thing is that, like Elise said, the defensive line is going to be the Achilles heel, along with the offensive line. I think as we move to the meat of this schedule and as we get further down the road into the Big Ten, I think that when you look at a guy like Will Rogers, I don't think he really got enough credit. I know he got player of the game, for the Washington team, and that was handed out by the coaches. And I think we've been so spoiled by Michael Penix Jr. and throwing the ball over the lot the last couple of years that, when you see just good QB play, I think that sometimes Husky fans might take that as a slow start. But great leader, great way to start off the season, and lots of positives and lots of things to build off as they gel and move forward into the next stages of the season.
What Jordan, from your perspective, having played that position, defensive line, where is talent thing, scheme thing? I mean, Weber State was pretty one-dimensional. I mean, before we started recording, we talked about this quarterback, the Richie Munoz. I mean, I think it's the worst quarterback I've ever seen in Division I football. But that Damon Bankston kid, pretty good at a running back, and they kind of felt like they were running the same play over and over again. Where do they need to get better at it? Is it a scheme thing? Is it more just a personnel issue?
No, I think that it was number one. It was the first game, so it was the first game that Coach Belichick's ever done in college football. But I think there's a little bit of both. But I think talent-wise, the Huskies have four-star recruits, 3-star recruits, guys that are highly touted on the defensive line. Big bodies, guys that are, 6'5", 300 pounds, but they have to find a way to make plays, and they have to find a way to have multiple. You're talking 10, 12 TFLs in a game against an FCS opponent. You're talking about getting to the quarterback, getting to the ground several times. I'm talking 5, 6, 8 sacks. That's what elite teams do, and that's just with 4 guys rushing, right? So I think the biggest thing for me that I was a little disappointed in is I didn't see guys just getting blown off the ball. I didn't see guys where, they couldn't run their offense because, they tried to pull a guard, but the center was in his lap because, Jacob Bandy's had him, 6 yards deep in the backfield. Those are the things that I expected to see, to be honest with you, against the Weber State offensive line. And it didn't happen. And I think there's a couple things that go along with that. I think the scheme also sets up for our strong safety and our linebackers to fly around and make plays. So there's going to be some things within that defense where maybe you just don't have guys flying up the field like you see with some other defenses. But definitely a lot to be desired. The defensive line has to find a way to stop. They ran that zone play probably 20 times, and it was always on first down. I mean, not always, but the majority was first down. You knew it was coming, and they'd get 6 a pop. They'd get 4. They'd get 6. They'd get 9. Unacceptable. That was what thing was frustrating for me as a former player and a former defensive lineman, is you knew it was coming. That's really all they had. And for me, that's something they got to clean up.
Elise, from your perspective down there on the sideline, how did Steve Belichick handle his first collegiate game? I mean, it's weird. You think about it; it's something he's never done before. These guys are football lifers. They're around the sport, and football is football. But there are some differences between the pro game and the college game. I mean, how did he handle himself down there on the sideline?
Well, I would love to answer that, Puck, but I actually was not on the sideline this week. I was in New York calling the Paralympics on NBC. So I
was
did
Softy
not...
on the sideline. Can
Yes,
we get
he
Softy
was.
on this show, please?
I'm going to go start drinking Bodhi right now. And
don't let him on the sideline. No one wants to hear from him. For God's sakes, you ruined the broadcast.
Hey, man, I'm one of the few that actually got to watch the game because I was in New York. So I got the Big Ten Network in my hotel.
That's
wasn't
right.
Blacked out.
Yeah, it wasn't blacked out locally. Okay, that's an error on me.
By the way, I mean the Cougs are just eating this up. They love this. Oh, I love it.
The irony is pretty thick here with okay, you have to allow us. I said this earlier to a friend. I would gladly change positions right now to be in a conference and to have some security. Okay, but you have to give me and other Coug fans 5 minutes to laugh. All these teams are leaving, and then the first 2 weeks of the season, no one can watch them.
It's ridiculous. By the way, what's going on with the Mountain West? And the Cougs and what's that?
Well, I think, according to Elise Canzano, it's more they want to kind of Oregon State, Washington State want to keep their options open, and they're partnering with CW, and CW wants to increase their football menu, and they want to have more ACC games. And I think you're going to see I think what he's alluding to, you're going to see them kind of play not so much an independent like schedule, but kind of a lot of ACC opponents, but other opponents from maybe the Big Ten. They'll play Washington, but maybe they'll play somebody up. Maybe they'll sneak in a game against UCLA. They're going to play just more Power 4 conference teams, and then I think they'll reevaluate after 25 what they're going to do. And I think at that point in 26 is when
there'll be a lot of changes.
Yeah, a lot of changes, and I think they're leery. The two schools are, because of what happened to them, to be looked at as, well, now you're going to go do it to somebody else. But they'll wait a year to do it again, and then grab San Diego State and Boise State.
Yeah.
This reminds me so much of the whole how it went down with the Sonics. It's like the two things with me that just break my heart. That the Sonics, it was stupid to go from Seattle to Oklahoma City. It made no sense from a financial perspective, from a 40 years of tradition, and all these things. And then it's the same things that you hear with the Pac-12. You're like, oh, we don't want to steal somebody else's team. We don't want to. It just, all of it is just crazy. But anyway, that's just the old Sonic fan of me.
Let me ask you now that we kind of went off on this subject. Did it change the viewing at all in how you addressed like this last week of college football for you? I used to get so excited for the first week of college football, game day, ritual, all that stuff. And then so dialed into what all the other teams were doing. I'll be honest, I mean, maybe I'm different than maybe you guys are. I felt myself not as I don't know, Jordan, 100% invested this past weekend?
No, it was, well, number one, I'm not a big fan of ESPN. And
Yeah.
so I'm not doing any ESPN. That's just a personal thing that I'm doing. I've been upset with what happened with that stuff. I've been backing some of the Cougs on that stuff too. But I'm a diehard college football guy. Like I am college football above all else. But it felt so different looking at the schedules. And like this time of year, I'm always looking at, oh, hey, we can do this game. We can go to the Oregon State game. We'll go down and do a Cal. You know, there was stuff that we do. I got buddies that live in Chico, California. We'd go down there and do a trip and do all this fun stuff that, you know, we just don't do it. We can't do anymore.
Yeah.
And it's such a drag. It's just different. You know, I want to be excited about being in the Big Ten. I do. But I almost also feel guilty for my friends that are Cougs and Beavs too. But it's like I'm really excited about, you know, Jedd Fisch and the Huskies and everything going on. But I'm disgusted with the way college football's been ran the last couple of years. It's an absolute disgusting way to do business.
Yeah, Elise, it was weird. I'm watching. I caught myself. I was watching the highlights of Arizona and watching McMillan go off. You know, how many 300 plus yards catching. I'm like, God, he's going to be a problem later in the season. I'm thinking,
I know.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We're not. That's right. I forgot. We're not playing them later in the season.
Yeah. No, you guys. It was crazy because I'm watching the Big Ten Network like everybody else is, and I'm watching Oregon barely survive against Idaho, which was and then it's the Big Ten Network, and they came through, and my pal Ashley Adamson, who I adore, she's going through all the highlights with Marcel Reese. Give it up for your homie. He's on the Big Ten Network. You
I talked to him the other day. I love that. He's such a good dude. He was awesome. He did awesome.
I was watching that and I was like, oh my God, first of all, the highlight reel, I'm like, and it just keeps going. There's 18 teams, for God's sakes. And so they were just rolling through, and obviously they're not playing each other. So you literally have 18 games that you're like doing highlight packages for. But it was the Big Ten, and it was like, oh, there's Indiana, there's Purdue. It was a little bit like, oh yeah, this is for real. Like there's just little things that catch you off guard that, you know, is long time because we're all old Pac-10 and Pac-12 fans. I mean, yeah, you're marking down, oh yeah, that's the October 5th game, and I can't wait for that. But the Apple Cup, man, I will say everybody is talking to me about that. My kid is like, oh, it's in 2 weeks, and anyway, we're gonna get geared up and amped up for that one. I know.
Well, that will be blood. That'll be blood next week. It's just so weird and stupid to think that it's September 14th, and we're gonna have to play the Apple Cup. All right, back to just the last week against Weber State. I mean, did you come, Lisa, did you come out of it thinking? I mean, listen, it's a comfortable win. They won by 32, and yet you can sit there and pick apart the game. But I think there's such a standard set here in the last few years. And I think this as well, and I think you saw this across college football a lot, where you saw some of these lesser teams able to stay with maybe some of these Power 4 teams, because this transfer portal, one of these things with this transfer portal is you get so many of these new players come in. Well, that's going to take them some time to gel, where these other teams like Idaho playing Oregon, it's not Idaho team, like they've played together. They've been together for a few years. Or Oregon and even Washington, they're throwing a bunch of guys, together. I mean, that's kind of the new day and age of college football, where it's going to take teams maybe like Washington, Oregon, who are using the portal so heavily, to kind of 4 or 5 weeks to kind of feel themselves out and kind of find out what they are as a football team.
Well, I can't remember if it was Jedd Fisch that used this term or if it was Pat Chun. I'm not sure, but the trifecta of change for UW. It's all new players, starters back, but for the most part, and a lot of those are transfers, but a brand new coaching staff. There's a brand new athletic director. Everything at UW is brand new. So you walk over there and it's all big changes. There's obviously some guys that have returned from last year's team, but for the most part, everything that you are watching is brand new. Like, the new dog walk and the new everything. And I think for a debut, there's so much of like, how is this going to work? Like you mentioned, what's Belichick's mannerisms on the sideline? Who's calling the plays and when? And all of the different things. Carroll's down on the sideline as the offensive coordinator, but he also deals with the offensive line. So he's got to be down there, making corrections. So it's all very, I think, there's so much that you're trying to look for and a small sample size and try to figure out and project that, one, it's exciting, but two, I think there's so much more to be determined. But I think as a first impression, the things that jumped out, I think there were some really, really good things that should excite Husky fans for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it starts with the playmakers. And we haven't even talked about the secondary. I thought the secondary was good. I thought it was really good. They've got some returners back there. They've got some depth. They've got in some, I last year I called the Sacramento State game when they beat Stanford, and Cam Broussard's, he's good. He's gonna be a baller. He's gonna provide some pop for the Huskies on the back half of the defense. So there's a lot to be excited for.
Jordan, what'd you make of the debut of Will Rogers? I mean, it's obviously huge shoes to fill after the 2 years out there of what Michael Penix Jr. was able to put together there on Montlake.
Yeah, no, I thought he did awesome. I think like Elise said, there's so much that goes into that first game, especially now after all the changes, not just at Washington, which there was probably more changes at Washington than maybe any other school in the country, but also, you got communication in the helmet now. You got all kinds of different rules now, right? They have the 2-minute warning. Now the clock's not stopping it at every first down outside of 2 minutes. So there's a lot of jitters, especially with the new coaching staff. They're unfamiliar with the stadium, and how games work. It's the first game they've ever had at Husky Stadium. There's so many things that go into it that I think knocking the rust off, that first 15 minutes, that first quarter, even the first half, just kind of really getting comfortable with the situation and having Will Rogers out there. He seemed just really smooth. He reminded me a lot of, and some Husky fans won't like this, but of Jake Browning. A fierce competitor, a really great leader, a guy that maybe sometimes hold on to the ball a little bit longer than he needs to, and maybe he'll take a sack, here or there. But he's a guy that can make every throw within reason. He's not a Michael Penix, but he's a guy that to me, guys want to be around and guys want to have them lead. He wants to really go out there and be a leader and be a guy that the guys to look to, and he's done that really well and meshed well with the program and meshed well with the team. So I thought he's done a really well job doing that.
Wait a minute, are you telling me are there people that don't like what Jake Browning did at Washington?
Yeah, that's
my huge amount of Husky fans that are like out of this world about Jake Browning and how I didn't want to get started on that because I love Jake. I think Jake is one of Husky legend, like top tier, like big time. And I love the guy to death.
Don't listen to the haters. That's a small sample size of idiots.
Yeah.
Did he win the most games ever in Pac-12 history?
Yeah. Yes. Well, and he was unreal. I mean, the guy is an absolute warrior. And
we will say that he was not 100% healthy when he was freaking grinding through those games. So, yeah.
Those wins.
Like
we had our version of that. Our fan base in that last year of Luke Falk turned on him, and I never could understand it. I'm like, what you guys are idiots.
Yeah,
like,
I really don't think I haven't heard that a lot. I mean, I know at the time it's like
you're not in the depths of Twitter with me. You're not in the
you get
Twitter
off.
where I'm dealing with these guys. Okay,
get out of it.
I gotta get sucked back out.
Any kind of hate and shade they can throw your way, and then you got to respond, and you just gotta, you got a blackjack dealer and just back away.
Yeah. Jordan? What do you want to see? What do you want to see against Eastern Michigan?
No, I mean, for me, I think the big thing is I want to see them push the ball down the field on offense. Talk about offense, and I want to see the offensive line continue to gel and really just find a way to always get Jonah Coleman that 20, 25 carries, whatever it takes. Get him the ball in his hands. And like Elise said, Jeremiah Hunter, I want to have him get some touches. They have to spread the ball around. But defensively, I want to see turnovers. That's one big thing that I was really concerned about coming into this season is that even last year, the year before last, I mean, some of these great defenses, you can change the game, change momentum. So many things happen when you have a big interception or a big sack fumble, or those are things that we need to have happen. And their secondary is way too good. Their linebackers are way too good. We should see some interceptions. I want to see some turnovers, but I want to see the defensive line and the defensive ends. I want to see them get home. I want to see 5 or 6 sacks. I want to see sacks. I want that quarterback on the ground. And I want to see some some improvement against what they're going to do. They're going to run that same similar run play that Weber State did, and I want to see them shut that down. I want to see them be gap sound and see guys to where they're not getting 6 yards on first down. You got to stop them on first down. I want to see third and long, second and long. And when it's second and long, you know what makes me mad? Screen draw. It's always a screen or a draw on second and long. Lineman, you're not that good. They're not just going to let you go to the quarterback. Stop. Turn around and find the running back. Watch the games.
Jordan, I thought it was kind of interesting. They used Afonso Tupatala as a rusher. Like when I'm looking at Eastern Michigan, I'm with you that I think more pressure. Where is it coming from? How are they disguising it? What are they doing? He's a veteran and he's a big, strong, fast guy as a linebacker. I thought that was interesting the way that they utilized him and how Belichick is going to get guys to get to the quarterback. That's one thing I'm interested with Eastern Michigan.
Follow up on that, Jordan. Yeah, go ahead. Follow up on
that. To me, his body type he's built similar to a defensive end. And he's a guy, to me, in that middle linebacker spot that they have chosen, and he's going to continue to move around and find ways to get to the quarterback. And I think that's going to be huge for them because they don't have, they have Isaiah Ward, who played really well as an edge player, but a guy that can really go out there and like ZTF, or a guy that is going to really get after the quarterback, right? So I think that, to me, finding different ways to put pressure on the quarterback is something we all need to watch for because you don't have these overpowering guys that go out there. The Braylon Trices, you got guys that are first, second, third round talent guys that we've had the last couple of years. We don't have that right now. So they're going to have to move some guys around to get pressure on the quarterback. But the best way to help a secondary and then to stop the run game is to get them in second and 15, get them in third and 12. Those are the things that we got to see. But like I said, that was the biggest thing that struck me that last game was the second and shorts and third and shorts as well.
Did you guys see from a defensive standpoint? I'll ask both of you because you guys both watch the NFL as well. How to me the schemes of the college football game and the NFL are more blurred than they've ever been before. I don't see a ton of differences anymore, like maybe you once did 5+ years ago. You tell me if I'm wrong on that one, but did you see things that Elise, that Belichick was able to do that maybe are unique to college football because of his experience coming from the NFL?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that was unique. I would just say that so often in the non-conference portion of the season, they're not giving you everything. So I don't think in week 1 against Weber State, when they built a big lead, I don't think you're going to see anything that is going to be scoutable that they can keep on the back burner. But I thought they were pretty sound fundamentally. For a debut with guys, as you mentioned, that are coming from all over the place, the youngsters, the transfers, the older players in new roles or whatever, I thought that they were pretty fundamentally sound, which week 1, you see a lot of missed tackles. You see a lot of different things. So I think I didn't see anything that was crazy. They weren't running Lambos 4.6 or whatever that was, his thing back in the day. But I think it was a good debut for Belichick and for that defense.
Jordan, I watched it, intently, but I didn't see it. Did he ever do anything weird with his lips or his tongue during the game?
I'm so glad you asked Jordan that.
I was hoping he did. Those are great memes. That's great stuff for the University of Washington. Well, really fast, I want to add to Coach Belichick and what he's going to do, though. And I know that quarterback was terrible from Weber State. We've established that. But what made him look even worse, number one, was the secondary played really, really well. Okay, number one. But number two, he did disguise some coverages, I think, early on in the game. I think he did disguise. And that's really what I see as being a big difference between having a guy at the college ranks and then a guy in the NFL, is being able to confuse a quarterback. And depending on who the quarterback is, you have an elite quarterback in college, you're going to have a hard time, obviously, confusing him. But when you got a guy from Weber State that they pulled off the parking lot at, the Sonic down the road, you're going to have some success. But to me, the cornerbacks played, I mean, amazing. I don't want to take anything away from them. I think that they, just the whole back end. But like Elise said, I was really impressed with, the tackling. I mean, usually you see really bad tackling the first couple weeks. Even across college football, I think they're doing a lot more. I don't know if it's live tackling, but I was impressed because that first couple weeks, I mean, even in the NFL, it's like, geez, nobody can make a tackle. So I was happy with that.
Elise, want to follow up on that?
No.
Lisa's like, can you just get me to the drinking portion of the show? And we'll, at least we'll eventually get to the drinking portion for you.
Yeah. When am I going to get my
I'll get you a straw.
I need some Bodie. I want my Bodie.
Whatever she needs that
nice
could just.
Husky.
Have you ever drank beer with a straw? I mean, that hits differently.
It does. That's a Pullman thing,
I was
too.
not. I was not.
It is. It's very much a Pullman thing, for sure.
Let
me ask you, Jordan, a thought on this one.
None of that, no.
They got their game this week. Elise has already touched on this. Their game this week against Eastern Michigan, once again, is on the Big Ten Network. As of now, as we're recording this here Tuesday, they have not yet resolved their issues, and we'll see if it can be resolved by kickoff. Probably won't be. Then the week after, against the Apple Cup against Washington State, it will be on Peacock. So I got a streaming service. Not everyone's going to have that streaming service. You're going to. There's a potential, Jordan, that you go 3 straight weeks where I don't, whatever percentage of the fan base hasn't been able to see the team on TV. How in this day and age? I mean, maybe it's like, hey, it's just one of these things, but can there be some damage, to that, to your fan base not being able to have that type of access?
100%. This is one of the biggest annoyances that I have with these huge networks and all this craziness that goes on in college football. They work for years to plan these great TV rights and these great, hundreds of millions of dollars to have these big networks to have all the games and watch them across and all this access. And all of a sudden you got the team that played the national championship last year, had the Heisman runner-up, all these first-round draft picks, all these NFL guys. The next year, you can't even watch them on the damn TV. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And I think it does do damage locally. Obviously, you black out the Huskies. That 10-year-old kid like I was is not able to watch that game. You never know. That might be the game that turns him into a lifelong Husky. I mean, there's lots of stuff that goes into this. It's absolutely frustrating and maddening. Like I said, I've been lucky enough to be with Facebook TV, or not Facebook, YouTube TV. And I was able to watch the game, but I know lots of people that were like, Jordan, what do I do? How did this happen? And there's a lot of older folks. The Husky fan base, you got that one side of the stadium where everybody's 60 years old plus don't know how to stream. I mean, that's every fan base. So it's a huge deterrent and a big pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, Elise, it is. I mean, it's because, and I don't know what happens like after the Apple Cup, but Northwestern, I don't think they have a TV game or network yet for the Northwestern game. I mean, hell, that one could be on the Big Ten Network. I mean, you could go the first 4 games of the season, and a good majority of people aren't seeing it. I mean, it's a problem, but it's not. It's a problem with all of college football.
It is. It's just really unfortunate because, like we said, passion and the intensity for college football fans, I'm right there with you. I share it. I live for college football. But sometimes it's like, man, I love it way more than it loves me back sometimes. Yeah. Like, come on, like an 8:00 game to start it. So like some of, the older fans, that's rough on them. They're getting home at 1 a.m. It's hard. And then you go back, at least it's a 12:30 kickoff, which is good. Right. But for the people that want to just sit back and watch it on TV, and you're like, no, you're going to have to go to somebody else's house. You're going to have to go to a bar. You're going to have to like figure it out or find how to stream it. It just, I know that the Husky fan base is as passionate as any, so I think they'll be fine. It's not just it's for everybody around college football, but for college football in itself, I do worry a little bit that sometimes it makes it way too hard. You shouldn't have it be hard to be a fan and see your team in person at a game or on TV. It should be force-fed to you. So, yeah, I think it is a concern.
Yeah, Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a problem. It's a problem all sports, and they got to figure it out. But it really is. You're right, Elise. It makes being a college football fan really hard. What's happened to the sport here in the past year? All right, you know what? We were too nice this week, and I don't like it. Next week, the gloves come off. All right, it's an early Apple Cup. Ugh.
All I know is that I get to sit back and have Jordan and you just like freaking throwing haymakers.
Yeah, next week is going to be painful, Jordan.
Jokes and our best Husky jokes coming from you, or like
just the same stupid, lame joke. Go find a cougar. He's working at McDonald's. I mean, it's going to be the same crap.
Oh, we'll get more creative than that, Jordan. That's your assignment for next week. You got to have some creative cougar jokes.
You know what's funny? I got some great stuff for Jim because, Jim is so funny, man. I almost feel bad for him. He's so confident every year. And I don't know how and where this confidence comes from. I mean, he's absolutely just confident about, man, finally, we got this one. And I said,
Doesn't it kind of put you on your heels a little bit, though, Jordan? You're like, well, I mean,
I'm like,
it's
wait
another.
A minute. What is? Yeah, I'm like,
did you see Heisman leading candidate John Mateer? Yeah, I'd be worried. Be worried what's coming your way in a couple of weeks, folks.
Man,
the Mateer train is coming.
I'm always worried. I mean, I am.
I am worried. Actually, this year I am 100% worried. Every Cougar player knows exactly what's happened, where the Huskies are, and where the Cougars are, and obviously the coaching staff. I mean, it's going to be, they're pissed off, and they have a lot to be pissed off about, and they're probably going to put that anger towards Washington, and it could be a good thing for them, but it could also be a bad thing where sometimes you get emotional and things happen and stuff. But there's just a lot of stuff riding on the game.
Yeah.
I just have a vivid memory at Lumen Field in the Apple Cup when the Husky Stadium was getting renovated and Kason Williams freaking took off and was about 20 feet in the air and like jumped over a bunch of Cougars and the Huskies won. That's Jordan. What I remember. And Lumen, who's going to be up there flying high to be the next Kason Williams?
John Mateer, book it. 200 yards passing, 200 yards rushing. It will be a field day.
Wow.
All right. There it is. Yeah, I think that's got to be an NCAA record if somebody were to do that.
Good.
All right, the Puck the Huskies podcast. We do it every week. Jordan Reffett, Elise Woodward. We always appreciate their time. It's brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, where Elise mainlines it, usually with a straw. Locally owned and operated by two fantastic University of Washington Husky alums. I hate saying that. Manny and Roger. They've been pouring the best local craft beer past 23 years. Makers, of course, of Manny's Pale Ale and all the other great beer, including Bodie's Offa. Tap room is open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. All right, Eastern Michigan this week. And then next week, it's a hate week of the Apple Cup. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Always good, you guys. There you go.